I will share a little bit this morning about, a short word about myself, and then speak about the theoretical energy efficiency and energy management gaps, just to put the floor what we're aiming for, some current practices, and then provide an example of a project that went from research to a online platform with linked open data, and the struggle with that, and also the pros with that, and then some final remarks. So short word about myself. I'm working part-time in Nordic Energy Audit, and I'm also working at the 2 Swedish universities, at the Linköping University, mostly with energy efficiency, and in the University of Gävle, also with climate adaptation, and future-proof cities is one of the projects that we're running up there. So the energy efficiency gap, it was denoted the first time 1990 by Hurst and Brown in a scientific paper, and it says that we have a large untapped potential for energy efficiency, and the reason why we don't have that much of adoption as we would like is because we have a number of various barriers that inhibit adoption. So if we look a little bit on the visual side of it, we know already in 2006 the Commission launched the first directive, what was known as the Energy Service Directive. The energy services has been, in my understanding, less advocated in the later directive, and also in the work going on right now. But you have some level that we can reach by energy services by purely market-related things, but the potential is a lot higher, and that's where we have the energy efficiency gap, commonly known as that. But we also have an even higher potential if we include also the way energy is being used, and that's denoted as the energy management gap. And if we're boosting energy management practices, we can, in a real estate company, we can reach or close to reach the potential if we're really successful. From a purely policy perspective, if we address all the market failures in the market, or if we run 100% plan economy, we could probably close the technology gap by law, basically, or if we address all the market failures out there. The energy policy potential, however, is lower than the real potential for both technology and management, because in a welfare economy and a democracy, we cannot force all companies and real estate companies to do all the things that they should do. So that's why the potential for the policy is a little bit lower. The challenge with energy efficiency in general, and also with data handling that I'm going to dig deeper upon right now, is that not all innovations are possible to make a product of or productify, and that leaves us with the need for more stakeholder participation, so a number of stakeholders working with the common goal. So here we see a paper by Svetlana Paramonova, who's with us here today also, and myself, where we advocate the need for both technology assessment programs like audits, and also data, online data platforms that can speed up adoption, but also that we need to move also into energy management diffusion if we are to really reach the goals that we have set here in the future. The current data handling practices and the databases, I've tried to summarize and generalize some parts here, but before doing that, I can just briefly share that in the EU there are 2 initiatives that should be mentioned about, and the one is the concerted action that the European Commission is having with the national Swedish energy agencies on a regular regular scale. And there, a lot of things are happening. Those of us who are not at the commission or in an energy agency normally don't go there. I've been there as a speaker for a day or so, but not on that. But that's an initiative where these are like the directives and the deployment of those are discussed. So that's a long term, you can say, ongoing. And then there was a group called Energy Efficiency Financial Investment Group that were going on for a couple of years. And there was a report being launched in 2014 that were, I think, key to some also horizon calls and so on. And the EFIG group it's still going on today. I was involved in the early part. I'm just a hang around today, but where the first report that we published there was basically the commission reached out its hands and say, what should we do here? And the financing and banking sector with focusing on both real estate and industry companies try to dwell upon how can we speed up finance and so on and investments for speeding up energy efficiency. So I would like to mention those two as long-term, like really good things that has been and are under the coverage of the commission. And I think those are the ones that I would like to end my talk with also. We need those long-term ideas and initiatives. Today, most initiatives are project-based, so they're funded through a project, and after the project ends, there is a need to have sustainability of if you invent the benchmarking program or something. And normally, it's not so fortunate. So sooner or later, it ends up in what one can refer to as the tool graveyard. They're mostly also publicly funded. And sometimes or oftentimes they're also made in a cooperation with a research-related partner. So these are some general things that are on the European scale. Some examples of databases. Most of these are from the EFIG report, but we have the US green button, and then we have the investor conference project also from the US on home energy efficiency loans. And then we have the industrial efficiency technology database. And if I'm not incorrectly, I think there has been a shift here. So they have been looking for another partner who can host this database, if I'm not fully incorrect. Then based on the EFIG, the commission launched the DEEP database. And then we also have various national initiatives. I know some of the like Elena, some of the partners here have national initiatives. We have one in Sweden under the building energy performance systems that are being deployed. But then we also have benchmarking schemes. So we're really speaking, if we speak about databases, we have two types of databases. We had one with measures where the key logic is that an auditor or real estate company can look into database and see what have others done and what can I do. But we also have a database on energy end use, and those are the ones where you normally also do benchmarking. So there we have some mentioned in the EFIG. It's the US Department of Energy's CHP database. Then we have the World Steel Association, the private energy efficiency data collection and benchmarking. Then we had the DEFRAM. That was the early version of the one that has been deployed in the CAMS project that I will speak a little bit more later. And then also various national initiatives. And there are probably numerous more out there, but those are some that were outlined in the EFIG report and that I would like to just emphasize a little bit. Then the case of this DEFRAM database. So the DEFRAM database was based on linked data, and we published a paper about that, which I think was the world's first in using linked data for publishing big data of energy efficiency measures. So it was funded. Once again, it was a project-based one, so it was funded by the Swedish Energy Agency. And we also combined the world's largest database, which is the Industrial Assessment Centers database in the US. So both data from industrial companies, from real estate companies and etc. So basically the whole spectrum, energy companies and so on, with real energy efficiency measures. And about one nuclear reactor, Swedish nuclear reactor, I should say, of savings is what we have, around 3 terawatt hours in savings in those measures. And they're based on 10 years of national policy programs in Sweden. So now we go into some things that I want to outline as challenges in how we deploy this. And I share this to also maybe help us serve in the future so that some of those mistakes can maybe be avoided. So the first thing here, we had an open database with big data. So we wanted to have this sustainable. So we asked the Swedish Energy Agency if they could take over it, basically. So we wanted to give it away. But because of the IT department, from what I've heard orally, they needed some funding to have this on their website. So that was a no-go. So then I asked my own university's web IT manager if we could give it away to them. But that didn't work out either for the same reason. So we need some money to have it online and to have it up and running. So the third try was to lift over this platform to the company that I'm now giving a talk from, to be able to keep and steward this innovation. So what we learned in summary is that commercialization after project ends are difficult. We have the valley of death known from startups, but here I'm maybe speaking about even from innovation to just going to a company. So I think this is not something we will solve today, but I want to bring that up on the table. And I think also important thing is that the database cannot survive without an ecosystem of stakeholders revolving around it. And then I have and so that we don't have them buried in the tool graveyard. And then another thing that for me was could never thought this out before, but please be aware that quality control of data is something, it's so important, because we didn't know that, but this data was done by good auditors and so on. But when we went into the data set, we had many misreported measures and so on. So the quality control of the data took us, I would say, at least 50% of the project budget. And also a very important thing is that there is a need for a taxonomy. The word taxonomy these days is probably mostly related to the green taxonomy that the Commission has launched. It's a 500 plus document on how to count different measures as green. What I refer to here as a taxonomy is a way of categorizing the data. So research shows that we categorize the data differently depending on which member state we come from, and also beyond the EU as well. So we need to have harmonized ways. What's space heating? What do we include there for space heating? It might sound like a very easy thing to do, but I don't think we're in full agreement even in Sweden from the agencies working with this. Same goes for other processes. So the taxonomy is key, because when we have the taxonomy in place, let's say 5 to 15 categories, we can make subcategories under those, and by that starting to categorize big data sets really neatly. I also would like to emphasize another thing, which has, if you ask me, maybe been sort of like a not fully correct thought that I've had or vision with data, with the database for measures, because it serves, as I said in the beginning, to speed up deployment where you would like to have more measures being suggested. And the research that we have done, maybe not research, but doing this with the big consultancy firms, is that a database up to double the amount of proposed measures from an audit if you have a database in place. But that still revolves around technology. So we have some gains with an energy efficiency database of measures for the technology. But if you ask me, in the future, the digitalization will also enable us to increase knowledge about both the management related part when we do benchmarking, but also increase the policy knowledge for those of you who are working with policy related issues. And it will also, of course, enable follow-up of how are we doing to reach the goals and so on. And I'm still looking for that type of discussions and databases, because it's possible to categorize and so on. But I guess we're not there yet. But I will say we will end here in the future for sure, probably sooner than we think. So landing this, some final remarks. All innovations, especially when it comes to databases and so on, it's not possible to patent, because it's not patentable. It's just data, and it's not maybe even fully possible to commercialize, or it's possible to fully scale up as a solution. And the two databases, prominent ones that consist of quality control data that are open, it's the American one, the IAC, and it's this DEFRAM database that is now the one that we have in our company with quality control data. And those are both being developed with a research-related partner. So the one in the IAC is the Rutgers University, who makes the taxonomy, so that the data are ending up in the right categorization. And then please, we cannot forget about the quality control, because if we put crap in a database, we will have crap out, and then people will tend it to be, but you don't get anything out of it because the data it's not correct and so on. Those type of statements are not good for building credibility for databases and so on. And also that I think this is maybe from a Swedish perspective, but we didn't build a modern society by only product innovation. So many times I feel that innovation, at least from the researchers, it's put on us to make innovations out of it. But I think it's not really only up to maybe a researcher to have an innovation if we are to have it for a large scale. I think we need cooperation there. And that's how many other types of fantastic things in society has occurred. So not only by products being scaled up. But also please know that if we succeed in this, large scale data handling can speed up climate change mitigation. And it will speed up how we close the energy efficiency gap, and most likely also the energy management gap, but that's beyond my talk today. And final thing, the importance of long-term commitments and relationships and partnerships and networks, sometimes for decades, cannot be underscored enough if we are to succeed in this. Thank you guys for listening.